Tapped in. Keep the credit, I'ma get it on the back end. Kick rocks, cutting corners, trying to cash in. We still outside, high as gas is. Watch them force you to EV. Tried to cut me out, but you.
Yo, what's up, YouTube? Back at you with another video on today. It is the Keeping It Raw podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Click on that bell so that you'll be notified whenever we put up an upload. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to talk about Chris Paul on today, as he is going to be uniting forces with Wemby. Definitely, man, it's going to be exciting for Wemby because you know that Chris Paul is going to set him up to be playing some good basketball next season. Now, Chris Paul didn't wait long to agree on terms with the new team after the Golden State Warriors waived him, as he intends to sign with the San Antonio Spurs, per Chris Haynes of Turner Sports has reported. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reported that the deal is worth a one-year deal around $11 million. So that's not bad for Chris Paul, being waived by the Golden State Warriors and then getting another deal done right away, a one-year deal worth $11 million. That's definitely not bad. Paul, who will be entering his 2020th NBA season, will now team up with the reigning Rookie of the Year and superstar big man Victor Wembanyama. The reported Spurs signing is no surprise. The NBA insider Mark Stein reported that the Spurs were believed to have interest in Paul alongside the Los Angeles Clippers. And frankly, it makes a lot of sense for the Spurs to sign Chris Paul. The Spurs were thrown out a young and coveted in Jeremy Sokin at point guard last season. Sokin is an exciting talent, but that probably isn't the best and his most natural position. The Spurs were better off finding a true point guard and some more veteran help to accelerate Wemby's development. In comes Paul, a 12-time NBA All-Star and a 4-time All-NBA first-teamer. At the age of 39, Paul's best days are behind him, but he still is a productive performer when called upon. Last year, Chris Paul averaged 9.2, 6.8 assists, and 1.2 steals in 26 minutes per game playing with the Golden State Warriors. It's unclear whether he will start or come off the bench in San Antonio. I think that Chris Paul is definitely going to start. I definitely think that Chris Paul is going to start. You have to start Chris Paul to get this backcourt doing their thing this season. But he is a part of a big making of the backcourt, which added UConn shooting guard Stephon Castle with the 4th pick overall in this year's draft. But it is clear that Paul was brought into how he can fit in and how he can contribute to the Spurs right away. Chris Paul had a great talk with Spurs coach Greg Popovich and was sold on the culture and an opportunity to help elevate the game of Wemby. CP is eager and motivated to showcase he's still an elite guard in this league. And that's what's up, man. Definitely, man. Chris Paul is definitely going to add a lot to the San Antonio roster. Now, one thing that Chris Paul is, he is a pass-first point guard. His ability to score and to keep the defense honest is definitely going to make San Antonio a better team as well. Chris Paul is he's good in pick and roll situations, and Paul will be looking to get Wemby in his sweet spots on the floor. That's one thing that Chris Paul is definitely good at doing, and he's the best at it, man. It's not too many guards in the league like Chris Paul. All the guards in the league now are just looking to score. Besides Trae Young will get some assists, and he kind of got a game like Chris Paul, where he can knock down that 3-ball shot and do the same thing. So I'll say Trae Young is probably the only other guard that I know that kind of plays like a floor general. It's not that many guards in the league that play like floor generals. Jalen Brunson, he's looking to score. I mean, Tyrese Maxey, who is my dog, he's definitely looking to score. It's a lot of the guards in the league, they're looking to score, man, before they get other guys involved. So it ain't too many guys like Chris Paul, and Chris Paul is definitely going to help this young man. And they're going to win more games with Chris Paul coming on the team because he knows how to run an offense. One thing, about Chris Paul that's going to be clear is his leadership in the locker room and being able to be the floor general that the Spurs need this season. So I think, it's going to be a good situation for the Spurs. Now, I thought initially that the Spurs had drafted Rob Dillingham, and if they would have drafted Rob Dillingham, it would have been trouble for the league. But he ended up getting traded from the San Antonio Spurs to the Minnesota Timberwolves, giving them a dynamic backcourt in Anthony Edwards, and also Rob Dillingham himself is going to be added to that backcourt with Mike Conley. So, man, it's going to be nice over there with the Minnesota Timberwolves. But, man, definitely Chris Paul is a great fit. He's the perfect fit with Wemby, because you got a guy that can get his own shot and create for others. That's what the San Antonio Spurs, and I think when they do get a legit point guard, they're gonna have to get a guy that can do the same things that Chris Paul can do. Basically, can play a little bit of defense and be able to score, be able to create for others, and be able to get his own shot off, while being able to be a floor general and helping Wemby get into his sweet spots on the floor. And I think if he does that, the San Antonio Spurs will be fine. They're still gonna have to add a few more pieces to the team to get the team where they need it to be. But at the same time, with Chris Paul coming in, and there's no doubt in my mind Chris Paul should be starting for this team. There's no coming off the bench for this team, because he needs to help this team understand what's at hand and what they need to be doing. And he can show his leadership skills better by starting instead of coming off the bench. That's not going to work, man, with Wemby. He needs a guy that's going to be out there on the floor with him, a guy that's going to get him the touches that he needs on the floor. And I think that Chris Paul is going to do that. So, a great pickup, for the San Antonio Spurs to grab Chris Paul on a one-year deal, reportedly only worth $11 million. Last season, San Antonio, what their record was, they was 22-60 last year, but they ended with some promise, going 11-12 to finish the year. Now the team has added Castle and Chris Paul in the backcourt in hopes of brighter days and providing more support for Wemby. On paper, the San Antonio Spurs looks like a top candidate for having the league's most improved season. They're definitely going to be improved, man. The San Antonio Spurs are going to be well coached by Greg Popovich, who's one of the best coaches all time in the NBA, and then having one of the best floor generals to run an offense in Chris Paul. This was a phenomenal fit for Chris Paul. Now, I did not know. I was thinking like, man, when he got waived, where the heck would Chris Paul end up going? But the San Antonio Spurs looked at it, swooped in, and hurry up and made this dude an offer. And now Chris Paul is going to be running this team. So he'll be in the backcourt with the young fella and Castle. Maybe we'll be able to get to see Castle in the summer league, see how good he plays and how he develops. But at the same time, man, having Chris Paul does not hurt the team. It's only going to help the team. And anytime Chris Paul goes to a team, that team plays well. That team, any team that Chris Paul goes to, that team rebounds and they play well. And I think that they're going to do the same thing in 2024. That these guys they're going to play well. They're going to be well coached, and they're going to be a team that's looking to go out there and prove themselves. Because we know that the Spurs have always been one of the better teams in the NBA. So shout out to Chris Paul getting an opportunity with the Spurs. And shout out to Wemby as well, winning the Rookie of the Year. And then be able to get a point guard like Chris Paul to come in and help this team get to where they need to be. And that's eventually playing better basketball and eventually making it to the playoffs. The Spurs haven't been to the playoffs in a few seasons. But, there's still going to be a lot of bumps and bruises next year because the chemistry has to pan out and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, having Chris Paul help Wemby get to where he needs to be is definitely going to be significant in his career, as the San Antonio Spurs eventually will have to draft a protege to Chris Paul. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Leave it in the comment section what you think about Chris Paul joining the Spurs. Peace.
Tapped in, keep the credit, I'ma get it on the back end. Kick rocks, cutting corners, tryna cash in. We still outside, high as gas is. Watch them force you to EV. Tried to cut me out, but you need me. My value never shows up in the box score. A plus minus they never could have accounted for. No referee can save you, read your scout and report. And even then, you don't stand a chance. Circumstance, thank God for Poe for lending me that band. I probably would've quit by now. Everybody that I started with then been died out. Except Quiddy and Push. Think of bugs every day, I'm not as free as I look. Cushion Ethiopian pour over. God turn up the temp, keep your composure. Float, then I bleed on the hook. Might have